At the beginning of 2024, I made a video about all of the movies that I watched for the first time in 2023. And this year, I've done the exact same. 2024 brought some good movies, such as Inside Out 2, Rebel Ridge, and it also brought movies that are for the fans, such as Deadpool and Wolverine and Sonic 3. Though you have those movies that are really bad, such as Madam Web, The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, and Kraven the Hunter. This list is not just about the new releases of 2024, but it's about the movies I watched for the first time. Lastly, spoilers. If a film comes up that you haven't seen, pause the video, go watch the movie, and come back. Or if you don't care for spoilers, just continue watching the video. I've never really cared for kaiju or monster movies that much. It wasn't until this movie came on my radar with like the Oscar and like the 35 VFX artists behind it that won the Oscar for the best VFX. When I heard that, I knew immediately that I had to watch this movie. And when I watched it, I thoroughly enjoyed it. It's such an interesting idea of a kamikaze pilot that's cowardice, that doesn't want to kill himself, go up against this rage radiation monster that solely brings death. And I fell in love with the guy. I'm not going to try and pronounce his name, otherwise I'll butcher it. But I fell in love with him and how he tried to live his life after the war and how he tried to get away with it all. How he cultivated a family, how he got a daughter even though he is a deserter. That whole thing gave really huge stakes. And I really love how we're on the edge of our seat. And as he eventually gets to this point where he's willing to sacrifice his life to stop Godzilla, it is a beautiful full circle moment. And then when he like escapes and like ejects at the last moment, it's like a peace that just comes upon you. It's like he really was ready to do it. And I think it's a very good overarching story and a story arc that very much drew me in. Though do not talk to me about the last scene. I hated it. Why is this... I understand he's Godzilla, but like we just had this whole movie and it felt so good that we got this ending and then... With the growth of technology and the rise of AI, this film is feeling closer and closer to reality, which is kind of cool because that's what this movie is about the AI being closer and closer to human. Human in quotation marks is what I'm talking about. Truly, this film is an extreme version of Her, and Her I absolutely love and adore, so no wonder this comes to number 9. To be honest, I've honestly forgotten a lot about this movie. I mean, I've watched 92 movies this year, so I'm just going to leave this to my Letterboxd review. This is the kind of film you need to watch 3 times before getting the big picture. Just from watching the film once, I am in awe. The story is so rich, and you can tell it's filled to the brim with everything. I read a review after watching because I sometimes like to do that, and man, did it open my mind. This film is brilliant story-wise, and you can low-key see the story through the lighting. I'm convinced that the red and the blackouts is to show the danger that is Ava, and implies she is the danger. And as an audience, we think that straight away, and the red is danger. But as the film continues, like Caleb, we are marinated and manipulated into relating the red to love, and are forced into Caleb's shoes, ones that are blind and hidden in darkness. This is storytelling. If a film makes me sob, then it instantly becomes one of my favorites. This film literally made me blow my nose mid-scene, and the more and more I think about it, the more and more I really like this movie. Most characters, from Joe to Red to Bloody Roger, all had their moments where their characters grew. And I really can't stop thinking about that scene where Joe calls home and Roger's the only one that can answer. It's great storytelling, putting these two people in this situation where they have to talk to each other, and then they get over the stuff that they've been going through throughout this whole film. And I think it is perfect. Obviously not like fully get over the stuff, but I mean, it's funny. It's a great scene. That moment made me so happy. And then when Angus rocks up to the prison and is able to see his dad, that is the scene that just made me sob. After everything in this movie that was stopping Joe from being able to see his son, he was finally able to see him. I'm literally getting goosebumps from just talking about it because it's just so impactful to me. I don't know why. I'm starting to think that maybe I'm biased because it's an Australian and a Christmas film. But I don't know, it doesn't really matter. It's a ripper of one. two 2024 films on this list. I know it's kind of crazy after watching movies this year like Rear Window, the Lord of the Rings trilogy, and the Planet of the Apes movies. I know it is crazy, but there is good reason. This film is so good. It got recommended to me by one of my closest female friends, and she was not lying when she said that I would enjoy this movie. You know, it's kind of funny. I don't normally put up anything of recommendations for movies on like social media, but after I watched this movie, I was so like, oh my gosh, this is amazing, that I put it up on my story like immediately afterwards. Every part from Cyrus's messed up self to Ruben's very similarly messed up self is just so masterfully crafted. I do love the whole like idea behind like the red, blue, like 3D glasses like type thing. And I think it is quite funny how they just directly state it to the audience. So if you look at it normally, it's like this one thing, right? Then if you put it through a colored lens, you see something different. The whole style of the film can really be summed up in that quote. I actually don't understand why two Christmas movies made it onto this list, and let alone one in 2023 and one in 2024. I think Paul Giamatti and his character Paul are literally perfect for each other. In the absolute nicest way possible, his lazy eye just fits so perfectly. Like I can't be the only one that just found his lazy eye to be so perfect. But so are his fellow castmates. Dominic Caesar and Davine Joy Randolph are just so good in their characters. The reason why I said the actors' full names is because they did such a good job. I feel like each one of them needs so much recognition for what they did and how great they were in their roles. I mean, some of them definitely did. They won awards, but I just want to just acknowledge them somehow from my perspective. I don't know. This is a YouTube video. Who's going to watch this? I love the characters' attitudes to the situations that they're in and the things that follow all those situations, the ands that just add on and just build and build and build. I can't say more because I just can't picture anyone else playing these characters. They just all did such a good job. They are legendary. I've always been a huge fan of the bottle episode. You know, the episode of a TV show where it's all in one location and where it's really character driven. You have these characters that grow, all of that kind of stuff. I love a good bottle episode. And this film is a bottle episode. These characters, when they meet beforehand, some of them, and when they all get into Lodge, you just know it's a ticking time bomb. And I don't think that there was a better way that this could have all ended. Tarantino is so good at doing these types of things. You could see a taster of it in Reservoir Dogs. And I think this movie is a good jumping off point from Reservoir Dogs. I was going to say better. I don't think it's better. I think it's a good jumping off point. My two favorite parts in this film is just how Bill Murray is just dead on the floor for half the movie, and as well that Channing Tatum just randomly appears and also does such a good job. Like, why did the guy from Magic Mike just spawn in and then act his heart out? Like I said with How to Make Gravy, when a film makes me sob, it gets bonus points. And this film did that, just like How to Make Gravy. To be honest, this film was almost lower in my top 10 because when Sokuro died, it was way too drawn out. It literally went from me sobbing in the scene to me laughing at it because of how long it went on for. The reason why it isn't lower is because of my love for action movies. This film, I really got reminded about my love for action movies through Kill Bill Volume 1 and this movie. Every part of this movie has you on the edge of your seat, and Gong Joe just did such a good job. I hope I pronounced him right. I mean, look at him in Squid Game 2. Oh my gosh, this guy can act. And then now he's got an edit that's going viral. One thing I wasn't expecting was an Eternal to interfere. And man, was he a force to not be reckoned with. Nobody wanted to touch him because he's such a beefcake. I don't know why I use the word beefcake. Along with the grandness of the action in some of these scenes, the character-led ones are really good as well. Each person, besides you, we were all rooting for. I mean, maybe I'm just me, but I feel like everyone was rooting for them. Like when I say everyone, I genuinely mean even the bullies. I don't know, maybe that's just me being kind of a softie, but I don't want anyone to die in a zombie apocalypse. Again, besides you, you can definitely die. I want to share a funny story before we get into this movie. So about 2 years ago, I had a crush on this girl, and I just went to a wedding recently, and she was at the wedding. And I go up to her to go just have a chat, and I mumble over my words, and I ended up walking away after giving her a thumbs up and saying, "Have a good life." This film is that. I mean, let's just quickly look at this scene.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes I charge it too. My phone. Yeah, sometimes my phone runs out of batteries too.
I couldn't talk to girls in 8th grade, and I still can't talk to girls now. So that just makes this film just mad relatable. And I as well think that is one of the best examples of technology in movies. I don't know, maybe that's just from my perspective, but I've always had a similar view on technology as Bo Burnham really makes it come across. To be honest, I was not very dissimilar to Kayla, and kind of I am quite similar. The only difference is obviously that I'm a guy, and the fact that she is in the 8th grade and I am 21. So this film easily gets podium. Watching this film, I couldn't stop thinking about how perfect Cooper Raiff was in the role of Andrew. And then I found out that he directed, wrote, and starred in it. Like, no wonder he was perfect, because he was him. He wrote himself. Outside of the bonus points that he got from that, it was such a raw film. And I felt each and every scene was so great. Even though it's obviously like a bit of an over-the-top drama, I think it is still a good drama. All the characters were well written, and each of the scenes I feel like was very good and really true. True to the characters, true to possible events. I mean, I'm a guy, so I can't really say everything, but I really do feel that it was good, and I couldn't help myself from actually enjoy all the scenes. They were all well done, and I loved seeing Andrew's reactions to different things, and as well as him just bounce off Dakota Johnson so well, and as well as Dakota Johnson's character's daughter, which I cannot think of her name. I genuinely felt myself having a stronger and stronger connection to Andrew throughout the movie.
By the way, I do think I'm a soulmate, but I know that Joseph is too.
That last line to Domino is so good, and I really believe that. I believe that we are given several soulmates. I don't know, maybe this is just like the hopeless romantic inside of me, but I believe that there's different people placed throughout your life that you have the option to marry. You have the option to be with, but sometimes it doesn't work out. It could be the right person at the wrong time, like this movie and like La La Land, or it could be the right person at the right time, like every rom-com seems to be. My honorable mentions: Kill Bill Volume 1, a movie that just brought back my love for action movies. You have Dawn of the Planet of the Apes. I really need to watch the new one. 10 Things I Hate About You. I can understand why that lady screamed. And 12 Angry Men. I genuinely never thought I would like a movie where you have 12 hot men in a room together. I could have phrased that better. Why have I heard nothing about this movie? Well, almost nothing. This film was fantastic, and I feel like it just existed and no one told me. I heard 2 things about this movie. I'm in film school. I should be hearing about this stuff all the time. The 2 things I heard is what it was about and that there was 2 languages throughout the movie. I had no idea it was going to be this good. When I put on this film, I was expecting to be more centered around Daniel and not so much Sandra, but I'm not complaining. I liked being around Sandra. I definitely have grown to love courtroom dramas more. You know, that's from like Daredevil, Monsters Season 2, 12 Angry Men like was just mentioned earlier. But this one feels so much more special to me. One is for the fact that it flows between 2 different languages, French and English, so nicely. I really like how Sandra is not so great in French and has to jump to English occasionally, and I think as a whole, it flows and really feels real, you know? I think of Little Women by Greta Gerwig and how the dialogue between like the sisters is just so nice. I feel like it is very similar in the fact that this flows so well. Far out. The cinematography, bro. Oh my gosh. Like, my favorite scene is one that has entirely to do with the cinematography. It is when the camera's going back and forward, and it is like we are in the seat of the guy up on the stand. It's kind of difficult, it's confusing, you're hearing different things, and you almost feel like you're going back and forward, but it's not like Challenger. It is so much better than Challengers. I really did feel like I was being thrown back and forward between this film. You know, we are from Sandra's perspective, so you tend to be on the person's perspective that you're on. Like, you tend to be, like, on their side. And I feel like this film does a great job at really making you start to question the reliability of your narrator. You know, we hear more and more information, things that Sandra kept from the court case and kept from us, the audience. And we're like, is Sandra lying? Did Sandra actually kill her husband? You know, there's something so innocent in Sandra Hüller's acting that made me just believe throughout it. Even when I was questioning a little bit, there was still the main part of my heart that was on her side. There is a crow crowing right now. I'm trying to record. Thank you. Every part of this film I loved, and I can't even help but go off script because it is something that's just so special to me. This crow, bro. If I was on the jury, this would be probably the most memorable case of my life. And I think it is good reason for it to be. It is something that really gets you on the edge of your seat, you know, the only witness being someone who's blind, and this just whole dynamic that's almost the court trying to turn the son away from his mum. And it just is so kind of crazy. Now that's the end of this video and of this list. This year I watched way too many movies, and next year I'm going to be watching much less. I mean, as of recording this, I haven't watched a movie yet, and it's been past the first week of January. So we'll see how this goes. In the description, you're going to see the full list and the script in links. I'm not actually going to type out the entire thing. Thank you guys for watching. Like.